Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining me. I'm meteorologist Jake Lambright. Just wanted to hop on here real quick and provide a quick update on the storms that we're expecting late tonight, or starting this afternoon into tonight and early Monday morning. So let's go ahead and talk about some of those. This here that you see on your screen, that is the latest Storm Prediction Center severe weather outlook. You'll notice across the state, the northern third of the state is under an enhanced risk, which is a level 3 out of 5 on the severity scale. This extends from Shreveport and Bossier to Monroe to the Louisiana-Mississippi state line and all the way south through portions of Natchitoches, Sabine Parish, Grant Parish, and also through LaSalle, Catahoula, and Concordia Parish. From there is a smaller sliver under a slight risk. That's a level 2 out of 5 on the severity scale. That would include Vernon, Rapides, and Avoyelles Parish, and a very small portion of Beauregard, Allen, Evangeline, and St. Landry Parish. From there south, we have a marginal risk, which is a level 1 out of 5 on the severity scale. Now, this is Sunday's severe weather outlook. This remains valid through 6 a.m. on Monday. So this takes us through the overnight hours tonight and into tomorrow as well. With that said, let's break down the different threats. So the greatest tornado threat, thankfully, stays to our north. You'll see that yellow shading and even that hatching indicating some strong tornadoes. That's off in Mississippi and Arkansas, which is good news for us here in Louisiana. Our tornado threat is not zero. It's really going to be highest across portions of the Ark-La-Tex and the Ark-La-Miss region as far as the threat levels we're dealing with here in Louisiana. Then the threat gets lower as you head towards Leesville, Alexandria, Avoyelles Parish, and areas south of that, basically to the I-10 corridor. So tornadoes, not a zero chance, but it's not going to be the primary concern as we go through the next couple of hours. The wind threat also remains more concentrated over the Ark-La-Tex and Ark-La-Miss region. Some of that does drag into northern portions of central Louisiana, but that wind threat also starts to decrease the further south that you go. And then the hail threat, this is probably going to be one of our greater threats today with most of the storms that we're dealing with. The hail threat is pretty significant over mainly the Ark-La-Tex and portions of the Ark-La-Miss region. You'll notice this hatching here that indicates we could see golf ball size hail or higher, or hen egg size hail or higher, my apologies. Some of that does include portions of central Louisiana, including Sabine, Natchitoches, and Wynn Parish. So we'll be watching that pretty closely, especially with some of the isolated storms that we have developing this afternoon. Then at 6 a.m. on Monday, a new severe weather outlook becomes available. There's a marginal risk, level 1 out of 5, for portions of the Ark-La-Miss and central Louisiana. That gets upgraded to a slight risk as you head towards Baton Rouge. Also worth noting, Acadiana is mainly in that level 1 risk, and then that level 2 risk, that slight risk, extends into New Orleans and eventually into Mississippi. So I think for us, if you're watching in central Louisiana or even the Ark-La-Miss, I think most of our severe threat wraps up before 6 a.m. on Monday, but it is going to be pretty close. We'll walk through kind of that timeline here in just a moment. Get that off the screen there. So here's a look at what the radar could look like as we go through the next couple of hours. You'll notice right now, not a lot going on. I'll actually pull up the radar here real quick so we can take a look at what's actually going on here on the map. So we've got out to our east, there have been a couple flash flood warnings and tornado warnings in Mississippi. Right now, this is a look at things from the Fort Johnson radar. Things are quiet over towards the Ark-La-Tex region, and from the Shreveport radar, things are quiet on that front as well, and even down south into the Lake Charles area. The Hammond radar picking up on, again, those storms out to our east. Those aren't going to be a problem for us, though. We'll go to the Houston radar here. It looks like we've got some showers starting to develop slowly but surely. We'll be watching that pretty closely over the coming hours. But with that said, nothing going on right now currently on radar. It's doing a pretty good job picking up kind of that lighter rain out to our west. It does want to show already some heavier rain falling in those areas as well, but we have not seen that yet. You go ahead and fast forward the timeline a couple of hours. This is going to be about 8 o'clock tonight. That's where we really start to see these storms firing up to our immediate east. And again, these could pose a pretty significant hail threat. Now, also with some of these more discrete storms, sometimes we also have to watch for the tornado potential as well. Tornadoes, again, it's a non-zero chance, but one thing that I really like working in our favor is that we do not have a lot of low-level wind shear. Wind shear is basically when the winds are changing speed and direction with height. That creates kind of that rotation, and we just don't have a lot of that in the lower levels of our atmosphere. And tornadoes really do need that in order to form and to thrive. So Right now, looking like we're going to have more of a hail environment. Then as we get closer to midnight, you'll notice kind of this line to cluster of showers and storms starting to move into portions of northeast Louisiana and northwest Louisiana. At this point, the low-level shear could pick up just a little bit, so I'm going to be watching that. With that said, though, damaging winds and large hail will still be the primary threats with these storms as they continue pushing southeastward. Now, this is about, looks like some of these more recent updates have slowed things down a little bit more. I can see now why there's that marginal risk going into early Monday morning for portions of the Arklamas and central Louisiana. This here is right about 6, 7 a.m. and the storms are right there starting to exit, but we still have some storms there across that risk area that's been highlighted for Monday. So we'll go back to an earlier run. This was the same model update that came out about 7 a.m. this morning. This will actually let us go a little further out in time. Let that load in. It's kind of showing the same thing. I do like the model consistency that I've been seeing update to update with this. With that said, though, I've said it on air a lot over the past week. These models have just not done a good job handling when and where storms will fire up. I mean, we know the ingredients are there and models are not perfect, but it seems like they've been struggling here recently. As we go a little closer to pick up the gap where that last model run ran off, about 7 o'clock in the morning, these storms really start to exit the region and become more of a problem for the Baton Rouge and New Orleans area. And then for the rest of Monday, we could have a spotty shower or two, but for the most part, we should remain fairly dry. Now, I do also want to talk about some severe threats later in the week. I'm going to check here at some comments here in just a moment. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave those in the comments. I am watching the comment section here pretty closely, and I'll answer some of those questions here in just a moment. Whenever it comes to severe weather, we have portions of the state outlined in threats for both Wednesday and Thursday. If you're watching me, you watch me on KLB, Central Louisiana. The news isn't so bad for now, but we'll kind of talk through that here in just a moment. So this is Wednesday's severe weather outlook that you're looking at here on the screen. And you'll notice an enhanced risk has been introduced for the Arklatex, so portions of northeast Texas, the Shreveport-Bossier area, Ruston, and really it splits kind of between Morehouse, Ouachita, Jackson Parish. That's a higher threat. That's a level 3 out of 5, and then we have a slight risk for portions of the Arklamas and central Louisiana and the Arklatex, kind of some of those parishes that we all share, Sabine, Natchitoches, Wynne, Grant, LaSalle, Caldwell, Ouachita, Richland, the Carroll parishes, Madison, and Franklin Parish. There's a slight risk. That's a level 2 out of 5 on the scale. Now, this has been shifting around a lot. Yesterday, that slight risk was pushed further north. Now it's been drugged further south. There's higher confidence in severe weather to the north. I'm not surprised to see the addition of the enhanced risk. That's what these different levels are. The threats, the possible impacts are still the same. Just the lower the level threat you're under, the less likely you are to see severe weather. Then on Thursday, kind of that same area is included in a slight risk. It's been pushed a little further to the north, but really portions of the Arklamas and the Arklatex are under a slight risk for severe weather. Not too shocked to see this either, based on some of the things that I've been seeing over the past week. So why, especially for northern Louisiana, and keep in mind this is close enough for central Louisiana where as this shifts we're going to have to watch it, but why are we seeing the same areas under the gun for severe weather multiple days in a row? Well, this is a look at things as we go into Wednesday. We have an occluding front here, which basically means that front, that low pressure center is going to get about as strong as it's going to get before it starts to decay. So we've got that occluding front, got a pretty powerful area of low pressure there over portions of Nebraska, and we'll have a cold front that appears that it's going to be moving through as we go through Wednesday. You'll notice the large area there shaded in green has the chance of seeing rain, and really that area extends from about Alexandria to areas north in the state of Louisiana. But then as we go into Thursday morning, you'll notice that that front really starts to stall out. So it lets, that front there is providing a source of lift, it's allowing rain to get going, and really that same area is at the minimum seeing rain. And keep in mind, portions of that area, especially northern Louisiana, have the chance to see strong to severe storms once again. Well, maybe this front will get a move on by the time we get to Friday. Well, it does a little bit, but it's still kind of stalled out there over portions of Arkansas. The same areas still have the chance of seeing rain once again. A little too early to get into the storm potential as we go that far out, but once again, still expecting rain. And then even on Saturday, that front still kind of stalling out, slowly moving south, but really hardly moving as we go into Saturday. finally Sunday, you'll notice a big change in the location of that front. It's finally starting to move, but more rain possible across a lot of the state of Louisiana, at least with how things are shaping up now. So we've got several days of severe threats. It's going to be an active week, at least in the way of rainfall, as we go through the next few days. But again, really right now, the main concern, the main focus is going to be on storms. Again, level 2 out of 5 there across Vernon, Rapides, Avoyelles Parish, level 3 out of 5, enhanced risk there for areas like Shreveport, Ruston, Monroe, and Natchitoches. That extends down into Grant, LaSalle, Catahoula, and Concordia Parish. The tornado threat, it's not zero, but it is on the lower side. It's going to be highest in the state of Louisiana in areas like Shreveport, Bossier, Monroe, Ruston, down south to Gina, Colfax, Harrisonburg, Jonesville, and then it's even lower as you head towards Leesville, Alexandria, Marksville. The wind threat is going to be highest again, Shreveport, Bossier, Monroe, all the way down to kind of those areas I mentioned, Gina, Colfax, Natchez, Mississippi. It's not zero, but going to be a little bit lower as you head towards Leesville and Alexandria. But the hail threat going to be one to watch for sure in some of the strongest of those storms. That severe threat is going to be a little bit lower early Monday morning, about 6 a.m. and beyond. But with that said, those storms are going to be exiting the region about that time, so we'll be watching that closely. And then make sure to stay weather aware, especially Monday and Tuesday as we learn more about the threats of severe weather on Wednesday and Thursday for portions of the state. You will definitely want that umbrella handy as we go throughout the course of this week. So now I'm going to go through and answer some questions here in the comments before I hop off. I'm just going to scroll through some of these real quick. Thank you, Sharon. I see your comment. Thank you for joining me this evening. Thank you for trusting and supporting me for your weather information. I see Michael and David are both on. Thank you for joining me, as well as Faye. I see Michael saying that the sun is shining in Prescott. That is not something that we want to see, and the sun has been shining too here in central Louisiana, at least for portions of the area so far today. I see Suzanne said it's going to be a busy week. Yes, especially out towards the Arklamas area where you are. Things are looking a lot more busy, especially going into Wednesday and Thursday, but it could also be busy for us as well, at least in the way of some rainfall. I do want to pull up real quick before I hop off. So go here to the Weather Prediction Center's page real quick. I'm going to do a little more forecasting with the rainfall totals later today, but this should give a pretty good idea as to what we're looking at across the state. So here's Louisiana right here as far as rainfall totals go, and I know there's some heftier totals possible up towards northeastern Arkansas. Those areas could see 10 to 15 inches of rain, which is a lot. But then as you head into southern Arkansas, up to 5 inches of rain are possible. This darker red here, you'll have to bear with me for a second, as it is a little harder for me to see. Areas of the Arklamas, it looks like really 3 to 5 inches of rain. Those totals could be as high as 5 to 7 in portions of the Arklamas. Then as you go a little further south towards central Louisiana, this Weather Prediction Center is highlighting about 2 to 3 inches of rain from what I'm seeing here. And again, I do apologize. I am a little colorblind, so it's hard for me to see. But based on what I'm saying, there's the legend off to the side if y'all want to kind of look at that to fact check me there. And again, I'll be looking at this a little more closely and doing my own rainfall total forecast a little bit later. And I'll make sure to put the numbers on the map so that it'll be a little easier to see. So make sure to stay tuned for that over on social media a little bit later today. But again, storms will start firing up as we get a little closer to the evening hours for us here in central Louisiana. That could start a couple hours earlier in the Arklamas. Nonetheless, though, I'll be watching those storms pretty closely and providing more updates on social media and on air if it looks like the tornado threat is going to be ramping up. So thank you for joining me this afternoon. I'll catch you here in future updates.